And this hangout is on air and live. Hey, yay! All right, everybody, thanks for joining us. It's another Crazy TV Talk show. It's a panel discussion, and we are doing a second version of Utopia, where we're doing episode 2 and 3. This is an amazing show. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Like Stephanie, she checked it out, and then she said, I watched all 6, man. I couldn't stop. So, yeah, and I was the same way, and I've rewatched it 3 times now, and that never happens with me. So yeah, it's an awesome show.
Yeah.
Anyways, Tony, do you want to throw something? Not Tony. I mean JD. Do you want to throw something in there?
Hey, welcome everybody. We're excited to keep talking about the fabulous Utopia, and of course, I'm not talking about the U.S. reality TV series.
Thank you.
About some town where people try to create a real utopia and it got canceled after 4 episodes. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the UK series called Utopia, which had 2 full seasons, six episodes a season, and we are very determined to go through all of it because it is some of the best TV on TV, some of the best anything on anything in terms of content or what you like to watch. It is fantastic, and let's just get flying into it. I want to thank Stephanie Scott for coming out as always, Ken McGrath, and Tony as well. Thanks for coming out,
thanks. Thanks for having me.
Great to be here.
Hey. So
and Tony's doing some amazing camera work, everybody, so if you get a chance, check him out.
the only guy's
Make up his mind.
Camera crew.
Yes. Nice.
All
right, let's get rolling.
Yeah.
Episode
all right, so
2.
Episode 2, and as always, I'll just do a little synopsis of people listening for the first time. We asked several questions: best character, best scene, weirdest or most confusing scene, best line, and then a score out of 5. And there's no such thing as a 5, so you can get like 4.2, 3.1, blah blah blah. I think the lowest we've ever gone is 1.4. Maybe it was a 1.2.
I think we did a 1.1 or 1.2 when we got to that shit show, the Cosmopolitans.
Yeah. Poor.
It actually got 1.
Yeah, there you go.
I gave it 1 star, but the star kept falling off the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Not enough stickum to hold it up.
Oh my God!
Not
All
to
right.
hold it up.
So let's we're gonna move painfully and swiftly forward. So we're gonna start this with best character, and this is development of a character or just a great character on the show. And I'm gonna throw this one to Ken to start with. So Ken, who is it now? If you have more than one, that's okay, but just give us one for now, and we'll do a second round if we need to.
Okay, I'm gonna give one, and then just a twist of another. Actually, for this one, Grant sort of he got more developed in this one, and it relied on him a little more as well. But Jessica was kind of right up there as well. They had to. She kind of made one appearance in episode 1 at the very end, just to say her name and then be flashed to black. But in the second show, they really had to build on her quite a bit more, just to find out. I mean, the whole first episode. Where's Jessica? Where's Jessica? Where's Jessica? Where's Jessica? Oh, I'm Jessica. And then, so they had to do something with that. But for the most part, I thought it was grand.
Nice.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to throw that one over to JD. Who do you got for a fantastic, amazing character?
Well, absolutely for me, it's Jessica Hyde. I think episode 2 and episode 3 is really about who she is and what she brings to the game. She's a giant mystery in the first episode. Arby is searching for her, and everybody is wondering who she is because of the questions. But she is one of the most powerful characters, and she literally just grinds through the entire episode, pushing everybody to the brink and testing everyone. She is the mastermind behind the scenes, who supposedly has no power, but everybody is interested in who she is. So she really is the pinnacle of the story, and what part 2 is in episode 2. So hands down, and everything she says, everybody has to pay attention to or receive the consequences.
Yeah, and what was interesting too, to that point, is Jessica Hyde. She pushes all the characters to change, so she is pivotal. Like, there are lots of changes that happen with characters, but I think it's a lot of it is her saying, you got to change, you're going to die. So
Yeah.
For them to
Yeah.
realize, like, wow, the world is now a different place, and I thought that was really, really interesting. And I agree with you. I said Jessica Hyde as well, so that's why I jumped in. So yeah, very, very pivotal to the show, and I think they did a really good job giving her that much airtime. But to Ken's point, we did get to the little kid. What was interesting about him, and it comes up in episode 3, is how that kid also affects some of the people in the as far as character development. And I'll touch on that probably in our second show.
Actually, just a quick one, just to go with your point there, Bob. I forgot to say as well that with Grant, in the first show, much like Jessica, we get to see him, but he wasn't sort of brought into the fold just yet, and that took a while to do it, so they had to develop him into.
Yeah, but he definitely wasn't forgotten. I mean, so much happened as far as character development for a lot of the people, like Wilson probably being the most dramatic because he was physically changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure, it made a lot of sense. And when I watched it for a second time, I really noticed that way more from the first time, because you watch the series for the first time, there's so much going on, there's so much eye candy, there's so much amazing writing, so much amazing acting that it goes right over your head.
And cinematography on top too.
Oh, just
yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. I'm gonna go throw it to Stephanie. What do you want to throw anything else in there?
Sure, it's more like an overall character for the entire series, in my opinion, and it's the wickedly sarcastic caricature of Becky. I love how every time something's getting serious in any one of the episodes, and of course in this episode their life is going into all these different directions, and then Becky comes up with this like reality. It's like, yeah, and it's something UK. It's something about all UK shows, but it's like how real people talk. Mm-hmm. And I can't get enough of it. It's got to be, I think it's Wales. I think the accent is Wales.
It is. It's a beautiful melodic language, accent as well.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that, and thank you for bringing that up. I thought her incongruency with her social norms with everybody else. I mean, there's so much going on, like weirdness, but she kind of twangs out of key every now and again, which really brings you back. It's like, wow, her breaking the rules, not listening to people, trying to be different, and you realize later on in the series why this is happening. And this isn't this show is full of so much foreshadowing that it is pretty amazing. So Tony, you're up next.
Yeah, actually, you guys are talking about character development in terms of like how a story unveils or reveals a character so that the character is developed to the author or to the reader. My first thought was best character development was actually between Ian versus Becky. With Jessica, she was being revealed. Even Grant, I think, to me, both of these are characters we didn't really know much about, and as a story, sure, it was developed in, as part of the story. But I think at the beginning of this episode, Ian and Becky were much more similar in personalities, and then throughout the episode, they began to diverge. Jessica was putting a wedge between them. We don't know if it was intentional or not, and it seemed to me that basically by the time you get to the end of the episode and then Becky reveals something about her and who she's in contact with, that just makes you wonder, well, does Jessica know something about Becky that we don't know?
I love what they do in this episode with that. I mean, they really put Jessica and Becky up against each other, and Ian is that pivot point. And what's really interesting is the things that Becky doesn't know about Jessica would scare the shit out of her, and Ian's not even sharing it. Where at the same time, we know by the end of the episode that Becky is talking to somebody else outside of the group. We're not sure why, but she's essentially betraying. So she's just as volatile as Jessica might be in this circumstance. So they quite mirror each other quite well, and they're both vying for control of this group, it seems like. Like the whole sex scene with Ian and Becky seems contrived from the get-go. It seems absolutely that she's trying to get control of the leader in the group, which is Ian. And so as soon as Jessica comes in and messes that dynamic up, there's only one way for her to get him back on task. And she, whether she does it or not, she creates a ripple between her and Grant, who previously in an earlier scene, I think Becky is my second choice because she's quite devious throughout this thing. Where they finally hook up with Grant and she tries to help him, it gets pretty crazy in terms of how far she's willing to go. She's a definitely developing character still. You still don't even know how deep she goes.
Well,
But so far
I
from
want to
what
jump
I've
in here for a
seen-
second too and say that that point about Ian being the leader. I think you've got Wilson, who is kind of trying to be a leader but failing because he just doesn't have the
Right.
aggression for it. But you think about it, he'd make a good leader because he knows all this background stuff. And then you've got Ian, who is kind of a leader because he's the guy that's kind of standing up, but he's very weak because he has no backbone and he
Well,
doesn't
he
have the
seems to be
fortitude
the
for
one
it.
that's in the dark the most, really.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So you
He's the
basically have
most
About
naive.
what's going
yeah,
on.
you have all these flawed leaders, and then suddenly Jessica Hyde comes, and she's got all the elements. She's very aggressive, and she just basically, hey, this is what we're gonna do. I'm taking over, and everybody shut up. Type of thing.
And she's
It's very
got this
interesting.
really amazing way of like, she's lived outside of life for so long that she just identifies and assesses people who are either going to help or hinder things, and that's all she looks at things. She is assessing people and whether they're going to do the right thing when she says or not, and she doesn't care really. It's really interesting as a juxtaposition of character to somebody like Arby. I mean, if Arby is this creature who was born without feelings and is just a killer, well, that's one thing, but Jessica has become that way in order to survive, and it's this really amazing juxtaposition where they pass like ships in episode 3. But she is amazing in assessing very quickly. You're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem, and if you're part of the problem, oh, she has no qualms.
Yeah,
None
she's
whatsoever.
tough, big time.
Yeah.
Okay, so
She's more self-directed than Arby. That's an interesting comparison between the two, and that comes up later, and not in this episode, but the next one. But there's something driving her, whereas Arby, he's being driven. He's being
Yes.
driven by something external to himself.
Although he starts to wonder about the driver as well, his own driver, which isn't him, in this episode as well. He kind of
well, but more in episode 3, I would
has
think.
questions.
Yeah, I would say in episode 2 you kind of getting hints of that, but there's not a lot of
Yeah.
Arby in episode 3. And when we get into episode
Yeah.
3,
That's
that's
when
the underlying thing that's happening, and I bring that, but
Yeah.
we'll get to that in a moment.
Sorry, yes.
But let's. I think we did very, very well with that one. We were relatively coherent, which is quite shocking. So I'm since we are
Everybody gets
on
a
run-
cookie.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody gets a gold star. for that. So let's go to best scene, which is visual, plot, moving, or a wow factor. And I'm going to throw this one to JD to start off with for best scene.
My
Just
number
one.
one choice
Yeah.
is the tramp scene. There is some visual building in this scene that makes the piece more dramatic than what actually is going on, which is just a conversation between two survivors. And you have Ian there, who is the observer. And then at some point in the scene, Ian is asked to go take responsibility for himself and go steal a car. And then these two survivors have a quick discussion about what happens when two survivors meet each other. One leaves. So this scene is put together so powerfully, and I don't know if anybody realized it. I didn't realize it till the second or third watch of this scene. She has the rope with her the entire time.
Yes.
She pulls it out of her
Put it in her
pocket
hand.
and holds it in her hand. Then she passes it from one hand to another. Then she tightens it in her hands. Then she asks Ian to leave. And then she kills the guy. And it is the most amazing thing. The other thing that they did is the tramp himself never breaks eye contact from Jessica in the entire scene until he realizes he's going to die. Then he blinks and he tries to connect with her one last time emotionally. And once Ian is asked to leave, he realizes that he's done. So it is so psychologically crazy, amazing to watch her intimidate a guy to such an extent and to let him know that eventually he's going to get what is coming for all of them. Which means you can't hide. It's such an amazing scene. It absolutely floors me. It's crazy good.
Well, I think also, remember, this is only episode 2 out of many, many great episodes to come, and what happens with the characters and how they develop over the next 5 or 6 episodes, even into season 2. Really, I think it's a pivotal point or push for this particular character, saying, look, I'm going to do what it takes. She's already said, look, if you don't change, you're going to die. And then she just goes about her business. I mean, that one scene where she's sitting in the car and she just turns around and said, this is the way it is, man. You got a gun? And she goes and robs somebody. And everyone's like, can't you do that? They're still having this moral dilemma. And that bathroom scene is fascinating because there's Ian. He's sitting there and he doesn't know what's going on. He's still a chummy guy. He's just trying to get along. Everything's cool. And then,
he's totally complicit, though. He knows exactly what's going on. He's trying to absolve himself of the responsibility, even though he confronts her in the car later, almost to the detriment of his own life. Because that scene afterwards, she's like, why are you acting so weird about this? Like, this is what we need to do. Is we just...
Yeah, this is
like
who we are.
It's when the crazy person cocks their head and looks at you and questions you, you have to be so fucking careful. Like when they start to look at you like you're another species, careful, you're prey. Yeah. You've absolutely become prey. She is nut bars like ahead of all of this, and it's the first time we hear Project Janus, and it's like the pre-tell to what's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 episodes. Like, it's just, oh my God, they keep doing this in such great ways of just revealing tiny little things.
Well, I'm going to jump in here. One of the things I'm noticing is the opening scene for every episode. I didn't realize it until I went back and watched it the third time. It's like, oh my God, the guy walking down the hallway and a clock. And then the first sentence, the first line, uses the word time. I mean, it's like, what? Yeah. That's how sophisticated some of this visual and script, I don't know, it's almost like a ballet that's happening. It's amazingly choreographed. And for me to miss that type of stuff that's pretty impressive, because most times I'll be, oh yeah, and then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. This show, I do not know what's going on, and watching it a second or third time, and on the third time catching something is shocking. So just, for people who haven't watched this show, even if you're getting a lot of spoilers here, don't worry about it. For sure, there's so much going on. And with that, I just want to keep moving along. I'm going to throw it into Ken now for best scene.
This scene I liked because it just sort of gave me a chance to kind of sit back in the chair and breathe a little. When Grant is wandering around the house with Alice, and it's sort of the most honest interaction in the whole episode, and it's from 2 kids, and because everything else is a lie, or potentially a lie, with some grams of truth sort of woven in, just so you don't forget the story. But for these 2 kids, it was just 2 kids, and it was the only honest thing I thought in the whole episode. Yeah. It was just a break for a second.
Yeah, there's later, one of my favorite lines is out of that. Just the connection between Alice and Grant is amazing, where she refers to him as twat. Yeah. So, like, just that kind of intro.
Yeah.
Very British.
To a character who's like, right away, you introduce this character, Alice, who finds him, and that, you're right, it's like this whole little story within the story, and you believe them right away, and you appreciate her right away, especially because of what's going to happen later on. It's like, oh, jeez.
And because of how she is, she breaks down his barriers almost instantly. Yeah. And I just love that part of it.
Yeah. And she's not a thug. But she's smart, and so it's a great juxtaposition. It's so nice. Yeah.
Tony.
There was a lot of scenes in here that I liked, but most of them they were all to do with visual. It wasn't so much the dramatic thing, like the photography for the car explosion. It's just if you notice the timing as he was walking away and that explosion went behind him, like they literally timed this down to the footstep.
Yeah.
If he had like taken what was not that one footstep, he would have been burned. I don't know how they did that.
Well, Jay Dean will tell you. I mean, on a long lens like that, he could have been a few hundred yards in front of the fire.
Yeah.
But
It
The
doesn't
photography
matter.
is amazing. Then the pink outfit and the aquamarine background, or the phone booth scene with the low camera angle, right? Or the interrogation scene with the lighting. Yeah, this was amazing photography throughout.
Becky's eyes when Ian and Jessica are going to go leave to go find out some information, and she's yelling at them and tells them to just fuck off in the end. And again, that Becky personality just hammering there, and her eyes are these piercing blue, and she's got this sun on her. She's all blown out, but her eyes, it's so gorgeous, and she's mad. She's furious mad. It's awesome.
Or the audio track as Grant approaches Alice while she's sleeping. It's like this bizarre sound going on here. I'm wondering, am I watching like something gory that's about to happen? What's about to happen? This is just really bizarre.
There's some creepy overtones. It's like almost like lullaby, creepy horror lullaby stuff. Yeah.
Steffi, what do you got for us?
As I don't know about favorite scenes. I think you're gonna find I'm more overview when it comes to this entire thing. But I'm glad, Tony, that you reminded me about the pink jumper and the crazy blue or whatever thing they had Ian wearing that day. And remember that interaction that happened with Jessica. Basically, it's like, how do I look? This kind of conversation's going on. It's like, you're terrible, but it doesn't matter. Just I just loved this like intertwining of the two characters that were kind of happening in and around that time. And I really want to also touch back on something that Jadine said earlier about the Jessica characters and the henchmen and such, and they've got this kind of coldness to them where we just get it done because that's what our life is. We just get it done. And then you have the human beings that have been thrown into this crazy world, and it's awesome seeing the two pieces being put so closely together. So we're reminded what we might do as human beings. But that's not the world we're in right now. They've taken us completely out of that world. And I just think that's one of the many scenes where you get to see the two worlds colliding.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to say best scenes, I've got two. But I must say that the opening scene, here I am. I did this last week. I was like, oh, I love the opening scene in the comic book store. But really, I mean, what an amazing scene! You've got an introduction of the character, the bum, what do they call him? The tramp, right?
Really is a tramp,
and it's beautifully done, right? It's these nice tight shots of the cart and the stuff that he's got it, and this guy looking at him and then going, that's like, what's going on here? And then the next scene, he's got a package which is obviously got the manuscript. He just pops it into a mailbox, nice little British round mailbox, and kind of standing by the road and just steps out and smack gets hit by this truck. Now,
and the reality of it.
This is super real because I've actually seen an accident like that, and there are like 2 splotches of blood, and it's so real. They studied. This is the thing about this show. They go into amazing detail on everything, including incredibly intense scenes. There's one coming up later I'm going to talk about, but that was an awesome scene, I thought, even though it's like a vignette almost. And then that's the beginning of the show. That's it. Oh my God, we're going to do it again. So for sure, an amazing scene. Does anybody have a second amazing scene, or I know JD does.
I mean, to me, it's besides that intro, it's the intro of Jessica Hyde. It's actually a fun one, and it's an interesting one. When she finally convinces them to go with her, they have this whole little fun adventure escaping the neighborhood. And I don't know if you guys notice while they're going over these back garden walls so they can avoid this, the CCTVs. and it's quite comical. And there's these tones of like the music from Matthew Broderick, where he plays the teen that stays home sick. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So they have this little bits of music, and it's that whole ending of the scene where he's going over the walls and going through the neighborhood. They've actually got tinges of it. Like, watch it again, you'll go, what? And it's like this fun little adventure, and they go through a house while people are there, and they steal the keys to the car, and the whole interlude ends with them in the car, and she goes to start it, Jessica, and Ian turns to her and says, "Is this your car?" And she goes, "Oh, you're so cute." Like, it's just perfect. Like, it's like, you're so naive. You have no idea. And in that moment, it's like, oh, I could, you're beautiful still. You're not like, you know, you have no idea what you're in yet. You have no idea. And it's this amazing little warm moment in just this craziness. So it's so cool. They did it so well. Very soft hand, light touch, and nothing like all the other intense scenes in there.
Okay. I was just going to mention the CIA interrogation scene because I thought it was nice because it actually goes through two sequences where they ask her a bunch of stuff and then they leave and then Arby just wanders in. Oh, how's it going? and then you just cut away. Like, cut away. Yeah, we know what's going to happen. We don't need to. We know Arby. We know
talking
exactly
about Ken and Grant and Alice having this regular people, that's almost like a regular conversation between two agents. So these are two people, one's a specialist and one's a CIA agent, and they're having a conversation about the case they're on. And they both understand how this works. It's like, you know, nobody works for anybody here. So, but it's, you know, of course I told them they were going to torture me. Like, are you kidding? Like, so there was shop talk. They were having shop talk. It was awesome. It was just like this regular shop talk scene in that second one with Arby. And you know, it was very frank and open, and you figured it was going to end in some atrocious way. You know, I think that's the other thing.
Interesting, yeah.
It's the other thing I like about this is they're not afraid of a body count whatsoever. Every show starts with some body count and ends with some body count. That just seems to be how they do it. It's crazy, but yeah.
Okay, I want to jump into this next one because there's going to be some good stuff coming out. Is the weirdest and most confusing scene because there's a lot that goes on in this scene. And to clarify, that's visual, plot moving, or a wow factor. So, weirdest and most confusing scene. I'm going to throw this to JD. I want to see what he comes up with.
To me, it's anytime they're in the crazy ornate room. Okay, the master puppets, or the puppet masters, pardon me, who are in there pulling the strings on everybody. Every time something happens in that crazy, it's like it's the crazy ornate room. Some shit's going down, guys. You may not totally understand it, but these are the guys pulling the triggers, and they're in there. Michael's in there, and right at the moment that they're having a conversation, that's when one of the dudes turns the TV up, just to hear about the murdered reporter and that his pregnant Russian mistress is the one who's gone to jail for it. Like the perfect timing. So it's so funny because that they're playing on that trope in a TV show where the crime information happens right when they turn on the TV. But the power of it in the scene is that it's just for him to understand that he's completely fucked. So anytime that ornate room shows up, it's your completely fucked. That's what it represents to me. I don't know exactly what's going on because they're always 5 steps ahead of everybody, but anytime that room shows up, it's like, okay, these are the guys who are behind everything.
Well, you know,
so they're pretty wow.
The first time I watched that room, and they'd have these close-ups of the carvings in this, because it's basically a wood room that's been completely carved, and it's like the devil and stuff like that. And I'm looking at this and saying, wow, maybe there's some sort of mythical, or maybe this is the devil and these guys are actually the devil themselves. I mean, it's got that heaviness. It's so oppressive and stuff, and you don't really know. And still, after 2 seasons, you don't really know. It's such a weird, like, people that are in that room, like you meet the 2 characters that have been in that room a long time, and as you get into season 2, there's a new person sitting in that seat. But that room has changed that person to a certain level of weird evilness and complicity, and that's why they're sitting in that chair. It's so interesting because
Yeah.
once you see that guy sitting in that chair in season 2, you go back and you look at season 1 again and you go, wow, those guys are really messed up because they don't give any backstory. That's it's like it's
And I
a
love
lot
it.
of
I mean,
mind games in the show.
and Jessica says, like, these are people who have weaponized diseases for, a plan, a calling. Like, it's crazy. I mean, for these guys to be part of this, and how quickly. What you learn in this episode is how quickly you could be made to be a criminal. We learned a little bit from last season with what happened to Ian, but it just gets crazy. Like it's redonkulous what can happen when they just need to hide something or need to achieve something. They'll turn anybody into a murderer. They'll turn anybody into a criminal. It's fantastic. But yeah, and who knows where that power really comes from? I mean, if we are blessed with the 3rd season, Bob, there's going to be another layer of that onion. You just know there is, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, quick question: did anyone actually jump ahead to season 2?
Oh yeah,
Bob
season
has.
2.
I stopped.
These
I couldn't
guys
help myself.
the whole series like 8 times each.
Yeah, I couldn't stop,
Okay,
man. Oh
maybe
my
not.
God, I'm in therapy right now, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw this one off to Ken. Ken, what do we have for weirdest, most confusing scene for you?
I'm kind of along the lines of Jay Dean, although I'm going to throw Michael's storyline into it. I'm still you sort of have an outcome just because you've watched the series a little more, but this whole Michael storyline is just a little sort of confusing for me. It's just bits and pieces so far, and I like the way they're developing it, but it's very slow. But it's like who are the 2 guys in the fancy office, which is the ornate thing, and his new boss is somehow wrapped up in something. The reporter that's now dead, and
his wife,
the wife, the
prostitute.
pregnant hooker, and all the way down the line. I mean, this guy's tied into so many things. But I want to say about the 2 guys in the office that later on, I guess it's a little more apparent in episode 3, but the assistant seems to be the one driving that bus rather than the guy behind the desk.
That's an interesting scene. Now, let's talk about that because that's in episodes 3 and 4, I think.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll leave it till then. We'll leave it till then.
But I would say it's not she's driving it; it's that she is ignorant, and it really reminded me of what happens in reality. Where,
To me, it's the whole there's a level of plausible deniability kind of stuff going on, and there's a level of you're the guy who has to be left holding this bag, and you're the guy who has to be left there's this deal, like they all made a deal with some devil, and so everybody has their own deal when it comes to that. Just like when Michael's boss is replaced, that guy is beholden right away. He's trying to be Michael's friend, but he is the bringer of bad news. And when Michael doesn't want to listen to him, then he meets these guys who don't say much. They're very, very helpful, and then they just show him terrible news reports every once in a while, or ask him about having a wee baby, and like really creepy shit. So it's really kind of it's a black hole.
Yeah, it's dark, and I think that's one of the things that's terrifying about the show is you realize that, it's almost like the same things that, well, if I got mugged, I could grab that gun, and these are the fantasies that you have because you've never been mugged. But when you get mugged and a guy's got a gun, there's no power there. There's no assumption that, I'm going to be clever and grab the gun. You say, oh man, I am totally powerless. There's nothing I can do. I have no choice here. And that is what is amazing about these power scenes with these very evil people, is you realize, like, wow, that person's going to do something really horrible. I mean, really, and they're really having a hard time making that decision, but they know there is no decision. that they have no decision. You're going to do this because the consequence is way worse than you being killed.
Is unthinkable.
Yeah. It's so hardcore that way. And I find this is about the show, and there's a scene coming up we're going to talk about for best scene. I'm sure somebody else is going to bring it up. It's so real, and it disturbingly real. And I think that's what's interesting about the show is they have not held back at all on the psychological trauma that people that watch this show get. I mean, it's not a light show in any sense of the imagination. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people just go right over the head, but if you start analyzing and looking deeper into the show, it's very, very dark.
But the threats are made so calmly.
That's what's so scary.
Yeah.
That is power.
Your head off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why this is really non-traditional, because like again, when you have 6-episode arc and you're telling this intense kind of story, you usually over dramatize all that tension and stress. It becomes melodramatic. Here it's so crisp and so tight, and like you feel like you're on the edge of a knife. That whole scene with the tramp, you just feel like, oh, she's just getting ready to kill him. Same with the CIA interrogation. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the wire in the water, then I'm going to plug it in here, and then I'm going to flip the switch. So you've got two options. You've got two choices to not answer my question. Only two, because the third one, so she's very clear about it. Very clear. And because she's a CIA agent, she understands how clear she is.
She knows there's no kidding around with this.
Yeah.
It's going to happen if you don't.
It's so interesting when a killer meets a killer. A killer that meets a killer, they don't fuck around. There's no melodrama. There's no, oh, I'm more charming than you or I'm smarter. Yeah, it's just, okay, so do you want to die right now or do you want to die later? Your choice. Here we go.
Yeah. It is that I love that little segue we had there, because I think it's very germane to people watching the show. So I think we got Stephanie up here or Tony. Who wants to jump in? Steffi, you want to do that?
Sure, mine's quick and easy.
Okay.
Basically, for me, the most confusing part, and it's kind of an ongoing confusing thing, and that's the whole connection to the Russian virus that's happening. And then I don't really quite understand I didn't really understand. You know what? I realized many episodes in, it starts to come together, but these first 3 or 4 episodes, I was like, I don't quite get the Russian flu, Russian virus, whatever they called it.
Yeah.
So Michael and how he's connected to that was confusing me, because then he had all that other background stuff going on with the prostitutes and he's a civil service, but how and where, and confusing.
Yeah, I think they played that, and I think as Ken mentioned earlier, it's played very, very slow. It's rolled out over like 4 or 5 episodes. And you really start to get into it, and then you realize that they've rolled this. It's brilliant because they've rolled it out so slowly, and it's so paramount to what's actually going on. And you go, oh my God, and then they just a reveal after, like the last several episodes is like reveal after reveal after reveal. So then you go, hang on, I got to go back to the second episode and rewatch that scene where he's talking about the Russian virus, because now, oh my God, I had no idea it was that important. So I think that's another very, very clever thing about this show is when they're doing stuff that you're watching and it doesn't seem that obvious and that important, that means it's incredibly important and very blunt, which is a very confusing part of the show, because the stuff that's like the interrogation, the interrogation part with the CIA agent, that's very interesting, but that's not what's interesting about that scene. What's interesting is her relationship for the continuation of the show, like not that person, but the CIA.
Yeah.
An organization. That is
you just open another thread, right? It becomes something gigantic. Yeah.
It is awesome, this show, for stuff like that. So, Steph, I really am jealous because you haven't watched the show, and you're gonna just like, oh wow, I can't believe I gotta watch another goddamn episode.
Well, I rewatched episode 1, and I'm realizing now, watching it, that you really do have to kind of cling on to all those little details, because they do a lot. You're right, foreshadowing is huge in this thing, and watching, it's almost like you got to watch one episode, then go back, watch the episode before, then watch it again in order to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there
I
doesn't seem
haven't
to
done
be
that much
sort of an
watching yet,
order.
so I'm still a little confused everywhere.
There doesn't sort of seem to be an order to this almost, because you're going to have to go back, flip back through the pages, and oh, God, what the hell was that guy's name again? And what did he do again? Oh, okay, yeah, okay. You got to kind of flip through this whole thing.
Yeah, it's definitely it's not casual watching in any sense of the imagination.
But that's what makes it so great is that
Yeah.
there is an interactivity, and what's funny is whether you're rewatching or not, when you watch it, you'll pick up on things that other people don't pick up on. What's funny is, you know, for as much as you have this group of like, you know, 4 or 5 people who are on the run, it's the establishment picture that is the bigger mystery. The establishment is the one that is doing the shadiest, weirdest stuff, even though you have all these weird psycho killers and survivors and people on the run in the foreground. It's like that's the smaller story that can undo the larger paradigm that is trying to shift right now. Like it's got some amazing depth on it, and I love that. You know, each one of us will see something different in it. So talking it through it is amazing. Like,
Of course.
Tony, I'm going to throw you under the bus. What do you have to say? Weirdest and most confusing scene?
Well, to add something new to me, what became the most confusing was Becky's phone call at the end. I'm not really sure who she's talking to, and it seems out of character based upon what we've been given about who she is. She's on some sort of a cause to get some justice for her father. That's how we understand her up until this point. And once that happens, no, all of a sudden that whole aspect of her and the way that she took like a duck to water towards being someone who could wield a gun, even though she was holding that gun really shakily, she just, in contrast, like with character development, in contrast to Ian, who was going like a real person, what the hell are you doing? What you're killing people? No, she's going, oh no, this is what we have to do. She just went along with it, and then right at the end, that phone call suddenly, like, oh, okay, I was writing all of these things about her behavior off up until this point. Suddenly now I think this character is a completely different person than who she's been presented as.
Well, and you know what's interesting too is there's a scene where Becky is going through her drawer and she's picking out these pills in little plastic bags, and you say, well, that's weird. Is that her father's medication? Is that her medication? Why is she doing it? There's no explanation, nothing. She's just counting these things, and then every now and again you see her with a bag counting the bags. Oh, I've only got 3 left. Is she some sort of junkie? What's going on? And you're not told. I mean, we're talking episode 4, I think, or episode 3. It's revealed.
It's not revealed till 4.
Is it 4? Okay. And it's like, oh my God! And this is yet another thing that's going on. There's so many micro arcs and hidden stuff that drives you back and say, oh, now I get why she was counting those things to her. Oh, it's so obvious now. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it's obvious now that they told you, but really. That's what blows me away about the series. I have no idea what's going on. I really, literally had no idea what was going on when I was watching it, and that's why you have to watch the next episode, because it's driving you nuts. It's really driving you nuts. And the thing that drives you even more nuts is you watch the next episode and you say, oh, I was so far off. I got to go back 2 episodes because I've been watching the show all wrong. It's okay.
So have we? With my eyes, and I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So have we've hit everybody except for me for weirdest and most confusing scene?
Yep.
Okay, so I've got this one, and it's kind of it's a best line, and it's the most confusing because it really confused me. And I wanted to have a discussion with you guys. It's when Arby says to Jessica Hyde, after he's taken the manuscript.
This is episode 3, Bob.
Oh,
That's
is it?
3, Bob.
Oh, damn it. All right, never mind. I'll bring that up in episode 3. So then my most weirdest thing would be explaining Mr. Rabbit and the Corville story. When she just like, so what's going on? Oh, you want to know what's going on? Okay, here it is. Because that's what everybody in the audience is watching the show. It's like, oh, they're going to explain it. And then she just, it's this, and it's this, and it's this, and this. And saying, whoa, slow down. So, and then it's this, and it's this. And she just tells you the whole thing, and it's too much. You cannot comprehend it.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is brilliant. Because really, what this show really messes with the audience on so many levels. And for them to say, by this time, I'm sure everybody wants to know about these guys, so let's just tell them everything and tell them nothing at the same time.
Well, and that's the thing. I think Jessica really Go ahead, Ken.
Isn't that in 3 too, though?
No.
You're talking about when
No, when she
goes on
explains
and
who's
says
after them.
1970s. Yeah, the two
Yeah.
two different
Oh,
factions, the network and the massive virus program that was launched. That you're talking
Yeah.
about that when she's
Yes.
explaining that.
Yes.
And
exactly.
she
Yeah,
talks
and then
about
Ian just turns and looks at her and he says, "You're fucking kidding!" Like it's like he's been told some fictional story. He's just got caught up in this, and he's going, "What? Can't you come up with a better lie than that?"
Yeah.
and that's I agree. Like it's made confusing on point because this second episode is really about the reality, the real reality versus the reality that they've been struck in. And maybe this is a segue into the next question, Bob, about the best line, because some of the best lines in here are either these horrific truths being said, creepy truths, or just these great one-liners of dealing with the heaviness of everything. Like just fucking trying to hang on to a reality of this is my life as it used to be, but this is how life really is. And it's really, episode 2 is about that juxtaposition. You're crossing the chasm and you're saying, hey guys, remember the conspiracy theories that Wilson believes in? Oh, they're way more fucked up than that. Come along, I'll show you.
Are you kidding?
And
We wish it were that simple.
It's fucking intense, and I think you're right, Bob. Like they put it right in your face, and you can't believe it. You're not allowed to because you're not there yet. But by the end of episode 2 and episode 3, you're like, oh, okay, everybody here means business. Like it's all happening right now. So what are you going to do? Who are you going to get behind? Who becomes your hero? Who becomes your victim? Who do you care about? That's what I'm finding at the end of episode 3 is like, fuck, okay, Grant's a good kid, but everybody else, fuck them. They all suck. Like, I don't know who to, because everybody's going to deal with this chaos in their own way.
You know what? And in episode 4, changes all again. And then episode 5, oh, man, what was I thinking? Episode 3, oh, my God. Yeah, and then season 2, they do it. They start all over again.
Oh, dear.
So this is it's going to be awesome. So great segue into best line. Let's throw best line to Ken. What do you got to say for best line?
Sure. Yeah. The actually, Jadine brought it up at the very beginning of the show. It's Ian, Jessica and Ian sitting in the truck, and Ian says, "So you just killed him? You just kill people if they're not convenient? Is that it?" And Jessica just does the head cocking to one side and says, "Why are you being so odd?"
It's so creepy.
Didn't I kill? It's like what? He's being odd? Are you kidding me?
And I love in that he said, so you just killed him, and her line is, I pulled up the ladder.
Yeah.
Like,
there's that. Meaning to that,
I
though.
simply pulled up the ladder so we won't be followed.
Yes.
No, you murdered somebody. Like, let's be clear on this. You didn't pull up a ladder. Like, that is fucking crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, best line could have been that whole conversation in that truck in the front. It's paragraphs long of just the weirdest stuff you'll ever want to hear. It's great.
Tony, let's throw the best line.
I liked one line of Jessica where she said, "There are no sides. There's people who help you and people who don't." There's some foreshadowing going on there because it comes by episode 3, the next one, when we start talking about something about her that just doesn't quite sync up. And I think that's a foreshadowing for it.
Gee, you think any of these people sync up with what they are?
I know it's well, that's shockingly they do. That's the real mind blower of the show. It actually works. Stephanie, do you have a best line?
No, I didn't make notes, so I'm kind of going by memory on it, so I couldn't quote.
Okay.
I just remember,
Bit of a shocker. Tony,
can I throw a Becky quote?
How about another one?
Thank you. Give me a Becky quote. I love her.
Yeah, it's Wilson is trying to get her to find out about his father, Wilton Wilson. Yes. And they're also trying to get a hold of Grant, and so he's like, sometimes I try not to hang on to, like, I try not to be a twat, and then she says, "Never deny your inner twat, Wilson." It's
British language.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I love the Welsh accent.
So do I.
Or here's
Uh,
one when Alice said to Grant, "You're quite surprising, you know. You strike me more as a Spider-Man type."
Yeah.
That one, so I remember that.
I've got it's interesting because Becky seems to be coming up a lot on lines here, but I said, she said, what was it? You look like shit. No, it wasn't. It was
Jessica says it.
Yeah,
Jessica.
I
I
remember
think
that
says,
one now.
yeah. You look like shit, and then it's a pause, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And then she said this awful pink outfit that she's got on.
I think the official quote was "You look shit." That was it as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the other one is when she takes Ian's gun from him after saying, "Oh, your safety's on," and she just grabs the gun and says, "Apparently they don't have safety catches."
Or when Wilson first meets Grant, you said you drove a Porsche and bogged supermodels. Yeah, well, I've got ambitions.
Yeah. I love
let
Wilson's warning to Becky and when they're going to meet Grant. And Becky, and he's in the van, so you don't see him, you just hear him. And Becky, be careful. Grant's a city traitor. He's bound to be a cock.
Yeah.
It's the perfect introduction to like a little sad little kid who's been on his own. It's awesome.
Oh, it's a heartbreaking scene too because they've got the two of them on both sides of the different sides of the street, and eventually they come together, and he asks, "Are you? Are I don't remember who. I think Becky asks, and he just basically he just goes up and hugs her like a lost child, because he's been struggling, and they've up until this point we've been flashing back to him. He's hiding his little hidey hole. He's had a very, very tough life, but then he realizes, like, holy crap, I haven't had that bad a life, because now I am hiding for my life, and this is really scary and freaky, and I'm not a tough guy anymore. I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
So for him to go up and say, and that was a big thing, because that's when the group becomes a whole. That's when they all come together,
the group comes together. Yes.
And immediately there's some separation going on, which is really kind of wild about it. Like right away, the group's not really a group. There's also a great one with Wilson where he wakes up and he said, "Did you pricks give me heroin?"
Yeah.
We had to for the pain. Oh, I hope it wasn't Afghani. The Taliban have been altering it for years to make us infertile. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome.
Oh, some great lines. I think they sneak a lot of great stuff. It's such a dark show, obviously, but there's a lot of great humor in there too. I mean, very dry British humor. So
Jessica's got a funny one. It's Naka, the CIA, where after she knocks out the woman pretending to be that guy's wife with the lamp, and she goes, shit, Glock 22, she's CIA, which means she knows next to fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Like just that straight observation that this isn't gonna help.
Well, it's interesting too, because and I find it's the depiction of the CIA from the British point of view is like, CIA, come on, what a joke. And that's the introduction of the CIA, and that is how the CIA is portrayed through the rest of the season and into the second season. And it's very, very refreshing to see how the rest of the world perceives where in North America, CIA is the most together, and all the shows about the CIA are the best people, and they're so brilliant. They always solve. And you realize, like, what a bunch of propaganda we're fed every single week on every single show. And you'll get kickbacks. Yeah, but it's just TV. So, no, it's programming, and that's just the way the human brain works. If you're shown that the CIA and the FBI are very, very good at doing their job, that's the reality. Even if it's biased.
When it comes across the water, are they gonna reverse that? Is MI5 gonna be the bumbling fools and CIA gonna be the good guys?
Oh, well,
that's interesting. I think that I guess it would have to be right in
tough writing
sequence of events.
But
it
all depends
who
who funds
the
it.
problem we have with American and UK television. The difference of be a storyteller. Don't be a programmer. I don't need you to program me. Just tell the fucking story.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I prefer UK stories, because either I can't pick up on the programming as much, and that's part of why it's so good.
Really good.
And two, it's more about storytelling. This entire series is telling a story. They're not trying to. They never pick an angle.
Mm-hmm.
I never go through this and saying, okay, they're the good guys. Okay, well, they're the bad guys. Okay, well, because you don't fucking know.
Yeah,
And
the UK mixes that up quite a bit.
And everybody understands that once you get into a situation like this, you make decisions that seem like evil things in order to survive. And a lot of what of that transition is happening in this episode. It's okay, so you realize that you have to kill in order to survive. Okay, well, now you have to become a completely different person than you've ever been.
And to just go off track just a little bit, the show MI5 out of the UK, they were consistently killing the stars.
Yeah.
And, you never knew. Okay, geez, okay, I like that person, but now they're dead, or they had to travel to Argentina to live for the rest of their lives. We're never going to see this person again, but they're constantly doing that because they need that for the story.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this is I'm very curious to see what's going to happen here. We're in the score zone here, guys. And once again, there's no such thing as a 5, but this is getting damn close. So I'm gonna, Steffi, what would you give it as a score?
I'm doing a rising because I do need to go back and see all the stuff you guys have brought up in the episode. But I had a 3.6 for this one because I was still confused.
Sure. All right. Cool.
But a rising 3.6.
Nice. All right. Ken, since you're next in line.
Yeah, I was a 3.9 on the first one, but I've decided that I had a little more detail, so I went to a 4.2.
Nice. J. Dean.
4.3. Basically on line with the first episode for me. It is continuing the incredible threads of what they introduced, and they just added more. They added the CIA, they added in the network, they added in the Janus Project, they added in the Tramp, they added in Becky is working with somebody, they added in, it's just unreal the amount of things that they've added in, and it's episode 2, so the threads keep coming. It's fantastic.
Nice. Tony.
I'm going to give it a 4.6. I gave it a 4.7. The first one a 4.7, or I was going to give it a 4.8. I'm going to stay at 4.6. And I just noticing something in this one. It was because of the photography. It was just exceptional. All of these scenes had some very definite photographic settings, like that. There were some themes going on with each shot, and I noticed that by the time we get through episode 3, there is obviously still the visual theme going through it, but it's a different theme that occurs in episode 3. So I'm beginning to think, because I am deliberately not watching this until we actually get to the point. I'm wondering if each successive one there's going to be another visual theme that runs throughout each of those episodes. Maybe you guys that have seen further ahead know this.
Yeah.
I do know, just to add in, I do know that one of the things that I loving looking back on them is that every character seems to have a color base to them.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Like there's the gray Michael, and then some of the henchmen have green tinges to the background. So yeah, it is really neat what they're doing with colors, and the DOP has done some cool choices.
Yeah, it's just amazing art direction in the show for sure.
It feels like they actually storyboarded the entire story, because there's so many images that are revisited as reverses. Like there's 2 of the CIA agents seen, and they're done from 2 different angles that create a different type of emotionality and a different type of intrigue or interest or unfolding. So, and the suicide and the Arby showing up from there, and it's just, they do this really great job of going through some of the same places and revisiting them differently. They show that ornate room in episode 2 and 3, and they're 2 different experiences when you watch them. So it's quite fascinating and fantastic.
But they're actually following the storyboard as well, though. There's a lot of times we can't quite get that shot. Okay, well, let's make sure that we don't go over budget, and we'll get the shot as close as we can get it. But they're just seem like they're not settling.
No,
they're getting exactly what they want, because it needs to be that.
It reminds me It reminds me of like True Detective was that same way. They decided the pace of the story to not interrupt the story, or the visuals of the story to enhance it and not to take away from it. Like they've just done these conscious choices where you're like, I don't like the scene with just Wilson and Becky are looking into her father, and they do these shots from the backyard where it's this like this very ornate room. It's like a greenhouse or something that they're sitting in, and her blue eyes and his dark skin and the sun dappling through with the trees, and it's just this tiny inane scene of them having a conversation of she's keeping his father's death again from him in order to motivate him. I mean, she collects information on everybody, but it's like there's a tiny scene going on within the scene, but it's beautiful. Like it's just gorgeous. So you miss that there's intrigue going on because you're just fascinated by how beautiful it is.
That's why you got to keep watching it over and over again, because there's too much going on. Oh no, wait a minute. I listened to this story on that one, so I'll have to go back and watch the cinematography.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can add color and texture. And then I haven't even got into the scene decoration. If you get into the scene decoration, if you just want to watch and a beautiful shot of a room, if you freeze frame, the stuff they've got in that room is unbelievable. This is the type of show that you want to watch in 4D. You know, not in 4, but what is that 4D
4K.
4K. This show would be unbelievable in 4K because you could freeze frame it and spend a couple hours looking at each scene.
Well, it looks pretty amazing in 1080p. Let me tell you, like it's pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
And again, beginning and end, they end the scene with, you know, you look at a garage door while RB pulls out a gas canister, and you just hear the last scene is a garage door to black and the sound of gas. Like it has, there's no visual. It ends with no visual, and it's so impactful. Like it's bananas.
Well, I think
So he killed that family, right?
But
yes.
it's implied that
I think he gave him a shave and a haircut.
Yeah, maybe.
It's in the school of Hitchcock. You imply implication has much more power than explicit showing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's
because then your imagination comes into play, and it's like the old radio plays. You know, they were way scarier than any TV because you went to the scariest place that your mind took you, and they didn't have to provide a picture.
Well, I love the show for that particular reason, where they treat the audience as a highly sophisticated and intellectually savvy viewer, and they say this is not for idiots, this isn't for morons, this is for people that understand and appreciate high quality production and well written script and beautifully acted stuff. And with that, I gave it a 4.3.
Nice.
So we're going to wrap this episode 2 up. Fantastic input from the gang, and I am really excited about next week because we're going to be diving into episode 3. And guess what? It is going to be a raucous show because there's so much stuff going to happen, man. There are some scenes that we're going to have some very, very interesting discussions. So if you guys hang tight. Next week's going to be an awesome show. So, JD, I'll just throw it over to you to wrap it up.
Well, thanks, everybody. As always, thank you, Steph. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Tony. We love talking about this show, and we want to hear from you about it. Check us out on iTunes. Rate and review us. Check us out on Stitcher. Rate and review us. Go to crazytvtalk.com. Check out our blog. I did a great review of this show at the season ender one, and I go into a lot about the music and everything in the show. Everybody check that out. Throw us your questions and your interests, and of course, go out and make a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, awesome. So now what I'm going to do, hang on, stop the broadcast.